Marla Phillips, Director of Xavier Health at Xavier University. And as it relates to artificial intelligence, one question we often hear is, where do I start? So let's take a look at that. One first thing you can do is join your peers at Xavier University. We have an AI summit that brings regulators and industry, meaning the pharmaceutical and medical device industry, together to collaboratively work on how do we get started with artificial intelligence, how do we make sure we have the trust in it, how can we explain where the data came from and the output, and where are we going forward together. So please plan on joining us August 20th through the 22nd, 2019 at the Xavier AI Summit. So that's one place you can get started. But in general, there's something for everyone. There's a continuum, as you can imagine. So there's a crawl, walk, and run process for how you can get started, and it depends on where you are in your organization. So you might already be started with this, so how do you get running? But let's take a look at that. As we addressed the how do you get started with artificial intelligence through the Xavier AI working teams, which are industry and regulators working together virtually throughout the year, coming together every August for the summit. Some of the work that the AI teams identified that companies need to do to get started with AI just makes good business sense anyway. So on the left, you can see the working team output, and on the right, you can see how you can benefit right now. So even if you haven't started with AI. So the first thing they did was they looked at how do we harmonize definitions of terms across systems, because if you're calling something an atypical or a deviation or a nonconformance, then the artificial intelligence can't necessarily make the connections to say, let me look at data across all of these because they're the same. So if you could just start cleaning up across your global plant sites, how you're referring to different aspects of your business. And that was a very simple one, but there's some that are more complicated and very ingrained in your plant operations. That would be a good idea anyway. How to clean up the management of data. So we're not saying clean your data and get rid of the bad stuff, but if you're looking at failures on a part per million or a complaint per million. And then another one, it's a percentage of the released product. So it's, you know, if you can start calculating based consistently across your plant sites on some agreed upon calculation, again, that's going to be a good idea anyway, even if you're not using artificial intelligence. The third one, how to improve electronic searchability of data and access to data. Some companies are still very paper copy based. So if you can start moving to an electronic means, that's going to improve your own operations and your ability to become more predictable and see trends. If you're already there, then improving your searchability of that data where you have it accessed. A lot of times they are in siloed different applications. And so if you can somehow get that data together for aggregation and searchability, and importantly, access for all of your employees, no matter where they are in the life cycle of the product. The fourth one, identify interrelationships of data within and across systems, as well as across internal and external sources. So this mapping of interrelationships can be used for human decisions right away. One of the things that the artificial intelligence teams did through Xavier University was they mapped where all the data would be if you had a failure complaint come in. Where would you go look to see how could that have happened? And so if you look at where all that data is, all the different systems that they're in, and map it out, wouldn't it be good to know where that is anyway? And then importantly, how can you get it together so you can see if there are interrelationships between a failure over here or something that barely passed over there is leading to failures over here. So something that's good to assess. Number 5 is to identify cause and effect relationships between data and failures to detect early signals. So one example that I like to give is you could have something from beginning to end for a product meet all of the specifications, but yet still fail. And it's the combination of variables that can lead to failure. So the overall picture. So you could have something in a raw material or a component that comes in and it's at the high end of the range. And there's another component that's at the low end of the range. And the manufacturing line was running super fast that day, but still within range. And the humidity was up. So if you look at all of those combinations of data and variables, then that could lead to failure, even though everything in and of itself passed. So this is something that AI can really help identify situations where we as humans can't really assess all of that data and bring it all in. So number 6 is identify all the relevant data and information needed for AI programming. So the data scientists within your company or through a supplier service, if you don't have a data scientist, can implement the AI from the working team output of doing the system map, for example, if you wanted to look at it for complaints. Or you could generate a similar map on a different business problem that you want to address. So importantly, you have to identify the business problem you're trying to address before you just jump into AI. And then the last one is to outline the steps needed for data governance, procedural changes, and human training. There's a lot of cultural aspects to this, a lot of different ways that people are going to be using data that they've never used before, a lot of different ways that you would need to basically validate the data, even though you can't validate AI because it's constantly changing, constantly learning. So there's a lot of training that goes into this for, at the end of the day, for the person to be able to use the output of all the work. So you might be saying to yourself, but we don't have the time, money, or resources. We can't do that. Well, through the Xavier AI initiative and other initiatives that are out there, we're developing solutions for open access, and that allows companies to crawl, then walk, then run. So there is a lot of open access information out there if you start searching. Your resources will then shift from managing failures to increasing data robustness. And so you'll be in a much more proactive mode instead of you're constantly fighting fires and feeling like, no, I don't have time to do something that would actually help us. So hopefully that would shift. And then the last part is money is needed to build the AI capability, either internally or through outside services. But this can come from being patient and taking time to implement the solutions that I just showed you on previous slides without AI. Do that as best as you can in order to start reducing your failures, improving your capabilities, and then gaining the ROI that you can use to invest in maybe hiring a data scientist or services. Or you can gain investment from an outside source, for example, to invest in your ability to start using our AI. You would use the ROI to then obviously pay back that investment and build from there. So it does take money at the end, but there are ways to get there, and there's no timeline that you have to use to get there. You get there when your company is ready. So the last piece again is join us at Xavier. So if you are looking for how do I get started, this is a great place to come and discuss because everyone seems to be in the same boat. Most of the industry is very nascent in its use of AI, even though there's a lot of buzz out there. So don't feel like you're behind. Come and join us, start getting involved in the discussion and see what's right for your company today.